Okay, so I know that you are not used to hearing my voice at the start of the show. You're used to hearing the trailer. Ba, 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 ba. I hope I did a good impression of a baby. But I wanted to hop on before we started this episode to share with you that we just launched our Patreon account. I cannot tell you how excited I am for this new opportunity. There's so many of you who asked me, what can I do to keep this community going? This was so helpful to me. I want to help other moms. I want to be involved. I want to do more. And I understand that feeling, which is why I started this podcast, because I just wanted to do more. We started our Patreon so that you all can support the Our Forever Smiles podcast and community and platform. As I've shared multiple times, I am still a full-time employee. I am still a full-time mother. I am a full-time fiance, soon to be wife. And I am just all the things, but I am nothing without this great community. And so if you want to support Our Forever Smiles, please go ahead and click on the Patreon link in the episode notes. You can support the show by paying just $2 a month to support the show. And you can also, if you want additional content, which I'll be doing family vlogs and behind the scenes, but more importantly, Danica and I, who is our savvy social media manager, we will be launching our own show called Moms in Real Life. So if you want access to that exclusive show, you can do so by subscribing to the $10 Patreon. And so we're just so excited to be able to put funding behind the project and also just really boost the show. We want to increase our production. We want to be able to increase our marketing. And this is a great way for you to help us be able to do that. We want to make sure that we're continuing to spread Cleft awareness, the Cleft journey in North America and also globally. I think that we have so many organizations who do wonderful things all around the world. And yet so many of us are still shocked when we receive the diagnosis, even though it is the most common birth defect in the entire world. We're still so shocked. Why? Because we need to continue to build awareness. This is a great way to be able to do this. We need to show our faces. We need to share our stories. And to continue to do that, I need you all. So again, click right now. The link is in the show notes, or you can find it on our Instagram. We love the support, and I'm just so grateful. I'm forever indebted to you all. To continue the show, we need you. We need you today. So thanks again and enjoy this episode. It's a fun episode with Summer and I. Her son just had cleft lip surgery. And so we're talking about all the things that moms can do to prepare for that. So enjoy.
Blah, 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 blah.
Welcome to the Our Forever Smiles podcast, a podcast created to support mothers of children who were born with clefts and those who love them. I'm your host, Laura Arroyo, and I'm also a mother of a daughter who was born with a surprise cleft palate. I know the challenges you face every day, whether you have just learned the difficult news of your baby's cleft lip or palate, you're in the midst of pre-op or post-op, or you're an OG cleft mom. This podcast is for you. In a weekly conversation, we will talk about everything from feeding and speech therapy to surgery and school. We'll share tips from guest experts and advocates and even share a little joy in the process. You can listen to Our Forever Smiles wherever you listen to podcasts. Don't forget to subscribe and stay tuned. Hello, and welcome back to the Our Forever Smiles Cleft Mom Diaries and Support podcast. I am Laura Arroyo. Before we jump into this episode, I would like to invite you to join this community to hear conversations with other cleft moms and advocates that will help you feel supported along your journey. All I want you to do is click on the follow or subscribe button. I love your support, And if you're already listening to this, you might as well just subscribe. So you can do that now. As a note, we are not medical doctors and we do not intend for you to use the information that we share here as medical advice. We are parents and advocates who love our children, and we're sharing our own personal experiences. Today, I have a wonderful and beautiful guest with me. I feel like there's people in the Cleft community that we just know. They're just they're the faces of the Cleft community. And I feel like Hailee is one of them. She has a beautiful daughter named Hosanna. Hosanna is her second born daughter, but her first child that has a Cleft experience. She is a sometimes stay at home mom, sometimes substitute teacher. She works in her church, running the children's church. And she's very passionate about just teaching altogether and also just teaching people about differences and what make us unique. And she wants everyone to know that these differences should be celebrated and not shunned away. Welcome, Hailee.
Hello, I'm so happy to be here.
We're so happy to have you. So Hailee and I were having like a conversation before we started recording, and whenever I start these recordings, I always share. I'm not an expert in anyone's story. It's just your story to share. And Hailee was just describing about how sometimes it can feel, I don't know if intimidating would be the word, but just you don't ever want to misspeak or say things that may offend people. And I've always felt that way on the podcast as well. I allow people to come on the platform to share their stories, but I'm not the the point person for Clef, right? And so I always think I don't ever want to bring the community down because we are so zen. We're very we don't have a lot of drama. So that's
Yeah.
a thing that I don't want to be a part of the drama.
Yes, exactly. I definitely resonate with that part for sure.
So it actually reminds me of a video that you posted with you and your daughter Hosanna. It was something, it was a reel that said, "You don't get to tell me that my daughter's diagnosis is an easy fix," or something like that. And
Right.
Hosanna's shaking her head. It was the
Yes.
cutest little thing. And I've used it before because I mean, I feel only Cleft affected individuals can tell me that I'm lucky or that I've had an easy journey. But yeah, nobody else. Like you can't.
Right. Like until
So
you've
it just
been in the position, it's like, you really don't know.
yeah, and it's really tough. But just in thinking about that, if you can go back to the day of your diagnosis, I know this is your second daughter. So what was that day like for you?
Yeah, I was actually thinking about this before we recorded when I was leading up to meeting with you. And since it was my second daughter, I like obviously went into, it was like I found out at my 20-week anatomy scan. And so I didn't go into it thinking that I would get any other report other than your baby looks good, she's growing healthy, and we go in, regular appointment, do our anatomy scan, and the nurse that was giving it to us finished it. And she was, okay, I'm going to go see if your doctor is available to talk with you. And I was, okay. Didn't think anything of it. And so then she leaves for a little bit and comes back and she's like, oh, well, she's busy right now, but she'll go ahead and give you a call later. So I was like, okay. Like my husband and I got in the car after and we're like, did we talk to our doctor last time after our first daughter's anatomy scan? And we just were, okay, I'm sure it's nothing. And so then when we get home a few hours later, my doctor calls and she's like, we did find something on the anatomy scan. Your daughter's going to be born with a cleft. We don't know how severe it is or anything. And I honestly had never even heard, I didn't know what that was. I had never heard of a cleft before getting her diagnosis. So I obviously didn't know what to think. So I just asked my doctor, I don't know what that is. And so she briefly explained it to me. She just said there's um, potentially your daughter could have a little bit of a hard time eating when she's born, possibly a speech delay in the future, but she didn't go into depth about what it was. She just gave me an idea of what a cleft was because I said I had never even heard what that was before.
Wow. I remember when I was younger, we used to always see, I remember vividly, we had these little boxes that they gave us in school to put money in. We would fundraise as kids
Yeah.
and stuff, and they had images of children that had unrepaired clefts. And I think it was probably an Operation Smile initiative. But it was one of those things that, you look at this box and it's just this distant issue in some third world or so
Right.
that was kind of like my first experience of it. You've never seen that before?
Not that I could recall. I literally had just never heard about it, and well, actually, once after we had gotten the diagnosis and, like, the doctor had called us or whatever, she had suggested asking our family members if we had a history of cleft in our family, and so my husband and I both sent out, like, the group messages in our family, and they were like, like, we got our results from our anatomy scan, and, the doctor told us that they saw a cleft, and my husband's mom responded and said that his grandpa had a unilateral cleft lip, and then my mom responded and said that my grandpa had a cleft. So it was this thing that, like, had been in our family, but nobody had ever brought it up until Hosanna had gotten her diagnosis. That part was crazy. But other than that, no, I had not recalled seeing cleft before that.
Wow.
Yeah.
So like with you sharing that information with them and then they saying like, "Hey, we do like have family members." Did that like bring on any sort of like okay, the quote unquote like normalcy or like
Yeah. I think that actually that is one of the reasons why I became passionate in sharing about Hosanna's Cleft because for me, that's so crazy that in mine and my husband's family, this has been seen and nobody has even talked about it or known about it until like my daughter's cleft came up and was diagnosed. I was like, people out there that just like don't talk about it, not like for any negative reason, but just they don't. Um, and so many people that don't even know like what that is or had never like heard about it before. So I was like, I feel like this is such an important topic to light and like really normalize it because it is something that's quite common. And if it's something that's common, I had never even heard of it, and it was in my family, that's like even more of a reason to shine light on this topic of cleft.
I was talking to Dr. Ruotolo. She's a doctor based in New York, and she was telling me that that probably happens because clefts are repaired so early.
Yeah.
And so children aren't walking around with unrepaired clefts. That's not our story. That's kind
Yes.
of like this narrative that's been surrounding the cleft experience and the cleft journey, but it's not necessarily true.
Yeah, I think that definitely makes sense because you said it is something that's repaired, and the repairs generally, especially here in the US, they happen when your baby's really young. And so it's something that's this really dramatic thing and it's hard and trying. But then you have your surgery and then your life kind of starts to slow down a little bit. And I don't know, for us, that first year, it was Hosanna's Cleft was a part of most of our conversations because it was just what we were going
Mm.
through. And then once she had her repairs and her palate repair and all of that, slowly after recovery, it just became less and less of a conversation because for whatever reason, people stop asking about it or it's just not something that we're living through in that moment. That definitely makes sense that it's not something that people continue to talk about years and years after.
I find it's really interesting too because several cleft moms who have shared their journey online, which you also have done as well. And I think more recently I've seen posts that are like, hey, I have shared this journey with you all. Now that's the reason you followed this account. But now we've moved on. So what do you all want to see here? It's not.
That's definitely been my account for sure. Hey, the reason I started this was to normalize class and be here and support other families that are going through it. And our journey has definitely slowed down a little bit. So I'm just showing you guys my life now.
Which I genuinely feel like is wonderful too, right? I feel your account in particular is a wonderful, I don't know, it's a wonderful demonstration of motherhood. And anytime that I watch it and watch your reels and the videos and things that you post, it just exudes this idea of motherhood and femininity and that type of thing, which I don't know if that's exactly what you're going for, but that's
Yeah,
just what
for
I
sure.
get.
Yeah, no, I love that.
So you seem you're obviously a really bubbly person. You're very positive. When you received this diagnosis, what I guess what happened to you all emotionally? Was it something that
Yeah.
you were able to, hey, let's figure this out and move on? Or did it take you a little while to come to terms with it?
Yeah, most definitely. Now like I can confidently say like we've made it through that. But in the moment, I put myself back into the moment of getting the phone call and my doctor telling me that Hosanna was gonna have a cleft. I felt so much uncertainty. I literally got off the phone and just bawled my eyes out because the thought of
Mhm.
just anything being not wrong. I don't want to say anything being wrong with your child, but your child facing anything, it's scary. And especially because I didn't have any information other than the brief conversation that I had with my doctor. It was definitely a time of, for sure, uncertainty. And just, I felt so much worry in that moment, fear of what's going to happen to my baby. What does this mean for her life? And so that part was definitely hard. I went from thinking, oh, this is going to be the perfect pregnancy and we're not going to have any you never go into a pregnancy, especially if your first one was have any complications or anything. You don't go into your pregnancy thinking that anything's going to happen out of the ordinary. And so I went from being all happy and just positive and just excited to have my baby to now having to navigate and educate myself on this whole other thing that I obviously didn't anticipate. So that part was really hard. To give more context too, I had my first daughter when I was really young. My husband and I were 17 when we had her. And so we had lived in separate homes and it was just challenging. And when I got pregnant the second time, we had owned our home and we were married. And I went into it thinking, this is perfect. This is,
Mm.
we're doing it the right way. And we have our home and we get to bring our daughter home together. And just, I just had this perfect picture of what my plan was. And so then when I got my daughter's diagnosis, I was like, "Are you serious? This perfect plan that I had is a little bit rocky now, I guess, in a way. Now I have to navigate this new challenge." So the first time my challenge was being a teen mom, and now it's having to navigate what my daughter's life is going to look with Cleft. And so yeah, that was challenging. Yeah, that was a hard time. That was challenging for sure.
Yeah, wow, that gave me chills just thinking about because you're right. Like you're like, okay, like I get this opportunity to quote unquote do it right.
Yes.
We're here, we've made it, we're together. Obviously, teenage pregnancy and that type of thing, people are pretty negative about that. It's not going to work out. And you kind of like beat the odds. And then
Yeah.
you come to this and you end up with a medically complex child. And it's, whoa.
Yeah,
So
for
I can
sure.
imagine.
It's pretty interesting. You mentioned people being negative about like teen pregnancies, and I did face that. And so then now it took me a while to share with people that Hosanna would have a cleft because I was okay. I faced judgment with the first time I had a child, and now people tend to judge when there's something that happens with a baby medically. People tend to judge the mom too. What did you do? Why did this happen to your baby? And so I'm now with my second pregnancy, I'm gonna face even more judgment. That was navigating through that was challenging as well. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, I'm thinking so a lot of people find out at that 20-week anatomy scan. Are you, I guess, what do you do from that point to keep yourself sane? Like, what are some things that you did yourself that kind of helped you cope until birth? Because it's half of your pregnancy. You have the rest of this time, and I can't imagine the type of anxiety that you had. And just
Yeah.
for context as well, Giselle's cleft was a surprise. That's why I actually got to enjoy my pregnancy.
Yeah.
I'm actually not the type of person that likes being pregnant, though. I put enjoy in like quotation
Or love or you really don't like.
I suffered through, but I at least I didn't have the worry. And I do go back and forth on is it better to know before or do you get surprised? Because then I was completely unprepared. I was totally behind on so much. But yeah, what did you do or what can mothers do to keep their mind off of this?
For sure. I feel I didn't achieve keeping my mind off of it as a whole, but I was able to get you want to research as soon as possible, right? When you find out. So I just started going on Facebook groups and really just diving into what a cleft was, what the different types of clefts, because I didn't know there was different types of clefts. And so I just started educating myself and I started connecting myself into the Cleft community, which I have to say is honestly the best community ever. So many
Mm.
supportive people. And I joined a Facebook group. I joined the Cleft community. I think it's Cleft Moms on Facebook. And so I joined that group and just got so much reassurance of my baby was just born with a cleft. and just seeing the cutest little babies in that group. And then also just seeing people post, my child's 18, they are successful and so happy. And just seeing other people's stories really helped me, I guess, helped my worry stay at bay. Obviously, I was still anticipating what our journey was going to look, but seeing other people have success and seeing other people have healthy and happy babies, that was really helpful. I was also able to connect with a mom specifically. I joined the groups, but always stayed. I was a silent viewer type thing. Like I'd scroll and look at everything, but I'd never interact just because I was nervous. And so I don't know why, but I finally had reached out to one mom. Her name is Liz, and she's on Instagram too. But I reached out to her and I was just, I think it was at the point where my husband and I were, okay, we have to tell Ava, who's my oldest daughter, about her sister's cleft and how are we going to do this? And I saw a mom post a picture of her older daughter and her baby who with a cleft. So her second daughter was born with a cleft. And so I reached out to her and I was, how did you explain the baby's cleft to your daughter? I need to explain this to mine before she gets here and I'm nervous about it. And so she was just giving me advice and my daughter's a little bit younger, so we just told her that her baby sister would be born a little bit different, and she was still excited about it. I think they had got her a baby doll with a cleft, and so she was just able to encourage me, and so I think from that point on, I was, "Okay, we can do this. We got this." I don't know, just being able to connect with the community and know that people are okay. Like, my
Yeah.
baby was gonna be okay, you know what I mean? Um
Yeah.
yeah, I think definitely just diving into the cleft community helped me a lot.
How old was Ava during that time?
She was about 6 years old.
Okay, yeah,
Yeah.
so she had some it's she's old enough to have the explanation to her,
Right.
yeah, because 'cause she'll ask. And so just thinking about when Hosanna was born, did you have some explosive birth, or were you run out of the house, or or
Yeah,
were you induced?
no, I was so we had to have her a town over because, the cleft team that I had gotten connected with said that she would when they have a cleft birth at their hospital, they automatically do NICU time just to make sure that the baby's feeding correctly and just that there's no other complications, and so the hospital that I'm near, their NICU is not I guess it's not fully functioning, I don't know the specific word for it, but so I ended up having to go to a hospital town over. And I knew this was my second pregnancy, it'd probably go a little bit quicker. And so that when I would start getting contractions that I needed to probably head to the hospitals. It wasn't anything super fast. My water never broke. I was up at 3 a.m. and starting to get contractions for a good 2 hours. So I should probably go to the hospital because we have a little bit of a drive. And so we did. We just went to the hospital and I labored there, I think for, I don't know, 8 hours, something like that. And then we had her. She was super healthy. And since their policy was that they would automatically take her to the NICU, I had a million people in the room with me ready to take her because the NICU team was in there. So after I had her, they had the little beds that they take the babies into
Mm.
the NICU and all that. So that was stressful a little bit, but because I obviously I want time with my baby before they take her. There was nothing.
Yeah.
She was breathing and all of this. I don't know, I wish that I would have known then that I could have had more of a say in that. I don't know, I wasn't bold enough in that moment. I wish I would have been more bold to be like, "You know what? Like, my baby's breathing. Can I please enjoy her for a little bit?" Because pretty much right after I had her, they took her to the NICU. I did thankfully have one nurse that was amazing. They wanted to take the baby, and before even handing me to the baby, they were already handing her to the NICU team, and this one nurse was, "Hold on, put the baby on her chest, let her connect and bond with her baby." So if I didn't have that nurse, my experience would have been totally different. But that was
In the
probably
world?
yeah, yeah. So I wish that I would have been, like I said, been a little bit more bold in that moment. But I honestly just didn't know. I don't know. I feel like in some certain situations, you think that the medical teams have so much authority over you, but you do have a say. You can speak up for yourself
Yeah.
for sure.
I had an episode with, she's a NICU feeding specialist. Her name is Micah Clark. And she talked a lot about that, advocating, like, no, this isn't like, it's not the hospital's baby. It's
Yes.
you should always have a team approach. Nothing should be done without you being involved.
Yeah.
And I think that this idea, there's some psychology about this too, about viewing medical professionals as the authoritative figures or people. And so you tend to not speak up or not advocate for yourself. But I encourage everyone to. I was actually going to do a story on my Instagram the other day about this. Even though the smallest things, a mom reached out to me and she's like, "Oh, our surgery date was moved. I'm so happy." She's in the process of NAM. And so I'm so happy where our date got moved up. And she said, yeah, I was in the lobby, at the getting her NAM adjusted. And she shared another mom that I knew came in after us said that her surgery date was before us. So I just asked the doctor about it. And at first they were like, oh, we don't think so. She's like, well, I think that, we're ready, or check, just make sure. And they say, yeah, we can move you up. And that's how she got the date. But it's, if you don't ask those questions or if you don't push or advocate for yourself, then it's business as usual. They're just going to keep doing what they know to do, right? And I think that people have great intentions and a good heart, but I hope, right? But it's this huge hospital system most of the time that you can get lost in that. And if you
For
don't,
sure.
say anything, then they're
They
not
don't
going to
know.
say anything
Yeah.
either.
I think I love that you point that out too. It's not that intentions are bad. That's their job. They're just going through their routine, their system. So I definitely, yeah, I love that you point that out because it is, you shouldn't be intimidated. They are there just to do their job. So just speak your mind,
Yeah.
speak up for yourself, which that through Hosanna's Cleft journey, I've totally learned that I've had to speak up for myself. I didn't, that's not a quality that I had before. And now that I can say that is a quality that I have now because I had to. I feel you can't go through a medical journey with your child and you're almost just forced to come out of your shell and advocate for your child. It definitely hits
That's
different when
so
it's for
true.
your child and not for yourself too. Like, you're gonna protect your baby at all costs.
Yeah, I've shared that too. I'm like, sometimes like I'll just like whatever, like most of the time it's just because I'm so tired of fighting. But
Right.
when it comes to Giselle, I'm
Yes.
no.
Yeah, exactly.
So I'll never forget. They had done her newborn screening, the prick and the dots or whatever. I don't know. They do that for each state, right?
Yeah.
And they had done it 2 times. And my Giselle actually got admitted into the NICU. And so now after that, she had like IVs and stuff. So then I was ready to go home with her. And we get to her first pediatrician appointment. And they're, oh, the newborn screening failed. And I'm sorry. So what? You
Right.
guys she's been poked and prodded. They did the screening 2 times. You're telling me you have to do it a third time? Who's doing it? Like, I was like,
Yeah, you're not poking my baby again.
we've been through a lot. I'm sorry. Figure it out. And I literally
Right.
hung up. And they were, oh, yeah, the second one went through. And okay, yeah.
Yeah.
I hate to
You're
be
like,
like,
no, you're like, work with what you have because
Meanwhile, she has like no identity now, and like, um, I wanted to go back to something that we talked about Ava. So, did she notice whenever Hosanna was born? What was that introduction like?
for sure. So we leading up to Hosanna being born, we got the book for Ava, Jack's New Smile. I don't know if you've read that one, but it's about a older sibling that's gonna have a baby brother born with a cleft. And so we got that book for her and we just like read it to her before we said anything. So my husband and I read the book to her and then it's actually really funny. She just is so smart and put two and two together. And she was, oh, is my baby sister going to be born like that baby in the book? We're yeah, actually she is going to have a cleft. And she stopped and thought about it for a little bit. And she was, that's okay with me because that's how God made her. I'll still love her.
Oh,
And I just instantly started crying in that moment, but it was just so sweet. And then, so then when we did bring Hosanna home, which we were in the hospital for about a week with her in the NICU, and Ava didn't get to meet her until after that week was up. But once we did bring her home, it was so cute because she was just so accepting. It was just so genuine and pure and innocent. She noticed her cleft, pointed it out, pointed the difference out, but then was just totally okay with it. She's just so cute. And it's even something that my daughter Ava's 8 now, and Hosanna's actually about to turn 3 next week. which is crazy. But Ava will sometimes look back at Hosanna's baby pictures and she's, oh, I just miss her cleft so much. It was just so cute. It's just something that it was it's so normal for her. Her cleft was just so cute.
Oh,
So it's
yeah, I
just
love that.
sweet.
It's so funny. Giselle actually has an older sister as well. She's 7. She's my stepdaughter, but she'll say funny things that too. She's like, "Remember when Giselle's belly button was black?" Like stuff like that. Or like, "Remember when Giselle used to be fat?" And I'm
Kids are so honest. Like they just say exactly what comes to their mind.
like, it's just so cute and so funny. But thinking about that too, just in preparing for lip repair, did you have a moment where you're, of course, we all wanted to get repaired, but it's, no, I'm not ready.
Yes, for sure. Oh my gosh. I literally, if I scroll back on my phone, I have so many pictures and videos of Hosanna before surgery because I was so like mentally, that was a really weird thing to wrap my head around. I have this baby. She was born in my eyes perfect, despite her having her cleft, she's perfect. And now I have to change her face, the way she looks, and really fall in love with the same baby, but she visibly looks different. Hosanna had a bilateral cleft lip and palate, so she had a pretty intense case of cleft. And so after surgery, it's a visible difference. And so that was a really weird thing to navigate. But yeah, I took so many pictures and videos because I don't know, I guess I don't want to forget what she looks like because like I said, like she was born perfect in my eyes. And so it was just this weird thing of I don't want to forget what my baby looked when she first entered the world. And so I did. I went back and forth of I really don't want to do this surgery, but I know it has to be done. But I did. The day I got the date actually for her lip repair, I think I cried the whole day. I was so anxious about her going through it. Obviously, the thought of your baby having to go through surgery at all is hard, but then also having their physical appearance change is crazy. Yeah, that was hard. That was hard.
Yeah. After her repair, was that the case? She looked totally different, or were you shocked by the way that she
Yeah,
looked?
I was shocked by it's like she looked very different. I know this experience is different for everyone after surgery. I know some people are there before their babies wake up, and we weren't. Came and got us after she had been in the recovery room. So she was in the recovery room, still waking up, but she was awake, and crying when we walked back. And so I remember walking through, there's beeping machines. Honestly, an overwhelming experience.
Mm-hmm.
There's beeping machines everywhere, a bunch of people. And so I'm walking back, looking around, seeing where my baby is. And instantly I hear her cry. I feel like when you're a mom, your babies cry. And so I heard her cry and saw her. And I was just, oh my goodness. I'm full difference. I don't know. I remember hearing her cry too, and I was just like, that mom instinct kicks in. You're like, please give me my baby. Like, give me my baby so I can comfort her. Oh my goodness. I don't even know. Just she did. She looked so different after that. And I grabbed her from the nurse and I just sat down and looked at her and was trying to be so strong, but then just looked up at my husband and kind of lost it a little bit. And I was just, this is so sad. I wanted to be careful too. I didn't want to disrupt her stitches or anything. Oh my gosh. Yeah, that was hard for sure. Yeah.
Yeah, I think also people are expecting one of the things I think are shock a lot of moms is that the way that the recovery room is. So it's a lot of other children screaming, coming out of anesthesia, just different, a lot going on back there. And it's a whirlwind. You're sitting there waiting 2 to 3 hours for updates and stuff like that. And then you finally get to see your baby and then they look completely different, which you'd expect, but you don't know what it's going to be. And it's a
Right.
very overwhelming experience, I
It is
think.
for sure. And I think that I wish I would have been more prepared for that moment too, because I didn't even realize that we'd be seeing her right after surgery in a recovery room with other people around. And we talked about before the hospital's on, they just go through their routine, they have their system. So it's like stops in that moment when you see your baby looks, but the world around you, just all the sounds and everything is just so fast paced and everything keeps flowing, but your world literally, if you look at your baby and your world is stopped in that moment. Your brain, I think, is trying to catch up with what your eyes are seeing because your baby does look so physically different. And so I honestly feel that I was living in a movie in that moment
Mm.
after her surgery. So
Yeah.
yeah.
And then it's funny. Then they come to you, the nurses are there and they start telling you all these things and she did great. They're super positive and stuff. She did great, mom. Okay, Tylenol rotate every 4 to 6
Yes.
hours and antibiotics and blah 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 blah. And they're all going all fast and then do you have any questions? And I'm like, I'm sure I have like a million, but I like
Right.
can't like
You're
even
like,
think.
I have options, but my brain can't process right now to ask them.
That's why you'll see so many moms in the groups literally be, hey, this is happening. I know I should ask the doctor, but I completely forgot.
Yes.
There's a lot going on during that time. Did you all do the NAM at all or any taping before?
Guess in our area, it's not easy to come by. Um, it's not easy to access in our area. He had said that over the years, he just found it that he just doesn't use it because he said that he's able to get the results that he wants without using it. And then to go through the hassle of trying to access it in our area would have been a lot. So he didn't recommend it. We didn't do it. He did try to have us do some taping. Um, he was, if you can do it, then that's great. But if not, I don't want you to stress about it. So that was a relief because Hosanna hated the tape. Absolutely did not. It would rip it off. Just chill it. Thankfully, he didn't stress us too much to do it. This is such a stressful time already. I'm not going to add to that for you guys. So try it. And if it doesn't work, then we'll still make it work. Yeah. Cause I hear some intense stories about the NAM. Did you have to do the NAM?
No, because she was actually palate affected only,
Oh,
and we didn't have to do that. But I have heard just in talking to moms and that sort of thing, I've just heard that it is,
not
yeah,
fun.
it's very hard. It's a
Yeah.
very emotional thing too,
Yes.
because your baby's uncomfortable, then you have such a battle with it because it's something that's going to help, but it's intended to help. That's
Yeah.
what the device is for, but they're sore and they're crying and it's you have to figure out feeding again and
Yes.
it's a lot for a mom to have to deal with during.
Yeah.
And then most moms, because we can't breastfeed, it's we're pumping and then the NAM and then
Yes.
it's
Yeah. It's a lot.
yeah. I know you recently had another baby girl, right?
Yes, I did. She is almost 6 months now.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Wow. Wow, the time flies. Here I
I
am.
know. I know. Like I said, Hosanna's almost 3, and then that's crazy.
Wow. So did you breastfeed Ava and then your youngest now, or did you decide to do a pumping journey?
Yeah. So with Ava, I exclusively breastfed her, and then with Hosanna, since breastfeeding was all that I knew, I was pretty determined to breastfeed her as well, despite her cleft. But I tried, and that just didn't work out. I was trying to breastfeed her, and the nurses in the NICU were not encouraging it, and it was just a lot. I ended up pumping for her. I did not pumping. I was not a fan of it. I made it for 3 months. Thankfully, had an oversupply, so I was able to store milk in the freezer that would last up to a year. So that was great. But yeah, after 3 months, I'm done. I can't do this anymore. I looked at my husband one day while I was putting my pumps on. He's like, you don't have to do that. Right? Like, I would literally attach my pumps and just sit there and cry. And he's like, you don't have to do this. It's okay. So I pumped for 3 months, stopped doing that. And so now this third time I am nursing, but I'm also pumping a little bit. I'm doing a little bit of both because the pumping isn't something that has to be done. And so I've definitely had different feeding experiences for each one of them, for sure.
Yeah. Did you mourn that at all? Being that you were able to exclusively breastfeed Ava, did you feel robbed of the experience or
Yeah,
with
for sure.
Hosanna?
I did. I guess coming off of being able to exclusively breastfeed, as there's such a connection in that. And being able to breastfeed that with Hosanna, I don't want to miss out on that connection. How you said, be robbed of it. So I really did. I went into it. No, I know the doctors are telling me that this is not likely that she's going to be able to breastfeed, but I was so determined because I don't want to be robbed of that connection with her, which like now looking back at it, that was such a little thing to be worried about. She was just as happy, using her bottle that she had to use. But in the moment, it felt a really big deal to me. But like I said, now
Yeah.
looking back, like we were honestly able to bond over, like, she used a specialty feeder, the Medela specialty feeders. And so I was like, we were able to bond over that because really I was like the only one that could figure out how to feed her with it. So I still ended up feeding her most of the time too, even though it wasn't breastfeeding, but we were still able to bond in that way.
Yeah, of course, I empathize with mothers that have that experience of they have a very emotional experience with that. So before I actually found out about Giselle's cleft, I was kind of like, I might not anyway, even if her palate wasn't intact. I I went into hey, I'm gonna breastfeed, but if it doesn't work out, I'm not gonna really worry about it too much. I
Yeah.
prepared myself before birth. And so whenever I was told that I couldn't, I didn't have quite the letdown
Yeah.
but that maybe other moms have, but I do empathize with that, and I can see how that can be the thing, especially if you breastfed one child and then you don't have that experience with the second child. But I will say the thing that kind of worried me as well is people are the bond. You're just you have so much bonding, and I don't know how much more bonded I can be with this child. Literally, she would, but now that she would live in my shirt if she would be right here in my shirt if she could. And it's because it is because I did most of her feedings, and it is because we spent so much time together going to appointments, and I was there when she opened her eyes from surgery, and I was the person that helped her through everything, and so we are bonded.
Bonded for sure. Yeah, I totally agree with you. I think that's what I was caught on was I don't want to miss out on this bond with my baby. But now looking back, it was not a big. We're bonded. We're for sure bonded. I'm like,
We've cried many
now,
tears together.
Yes, we have. We have cried those tears together. We are definitely bonded and connected. Yeah, I think that's so big. Do not let anyone tell you that just because you can't breastfeed, you're not going to be bonded and connected to your baby. You will be.
Yeah. For sure. Oh, goodness. And thinking about Hosanna, so she's had her lip repair, obviously, and then she had palate repair. Would you say that, I guess, what was the worst recovery, or what was the better? What can people expect?
Yeah, for sure. I know it's super unique for each situation, but I guess I'll just speak to mine. But so lip repair out of the two, so she's had her lip repair and then she did her palate repair with ear tubes. And then she had just recently, she got a new set of ear tubes, which I will tell you, don't be scared of the ear tube surgery because for her, I was worked up about it because I was, she's older and she's going to know what's going on. She was fine. She waved to me as I took her back to the surgery room. As I'm trying not to cry because I'm like, oh, my baby. And she's just, bye, mom. And then came out and she was fine. So ear tubes for us were fine. But out of the two, the palate and the lip repair was honestly harder for us. I tend to hear the opposite, that palate repair is a lot more challenging for people. But it was the opposite for us. Lip repair was so challenging for us. I think for us, seeing the visible surgery area, that was hard. I was so worried about hurting her or her stitches coming undone, which I mean, can happen, but our surgeon was the chances of it happening aren't super high. But I was just scared that I was trying to be super fragile with her and trying to care for her stitches was really hard for me. I don't blood or anything like that, so having to care for her stitches was really hard, and she was really uncomfortable after lip repair. I honestly, not even exaggerating, I think I held her for the whole 3 weeks of recovery after that because she didn't want to be put down, and I was all scared of her rubbing her face on stuff, and she just wanted me to hold her. So that was really a hard recovery process. I stressed out so much about infection happening on her stitches. I'd want to clean it, but then I didn't want to hurt her. And just, whereas her palate, she was in pain. You could tell that she was in pain. But I think because we didn't physically see her wounds, it wasn't as bad for her. It wasn't as bad for us to have to clean and do all of that. She also just seemed to recover quicker from her palate repair, which I know is not the case for a lot of people. She really took a lot longer to repair with her lip surgery than she did her palate surgery. I will say, I know this is something that people go back and forth on, controversial maybe, but we stayed on top of pain meds. I didn't wait for her to get to the point of discomfort before giving her pain medications, and that helped us in those first few days, especially staying on top of it before she got super uncomfortable. I think that helped a lot.
Yeah. I didn't know that that was controversial. I'll be the
Yeah,
first to say here,
I
stay on top of
know.
those pain meds. Are you
Yeah.
what?
I didn't realize that would be something that was controversial because the thought of my baby being any more uncomfortable than she already is drove me crazy. I literally would set my alarm and give her pain meds when the alarm would go off. And some people are like, oh, you shouldn't do that because then you're just over medicating your baby and this and that. But I'm gonna keep my baby comfortable. I'm sorry, but
Yeah,
that's what I'm gonna do.
they just had major surgery. What?
Yeah.
But also I think what they don't realize, and I was told this as well, is you don't wait until it's overwhelming. They may seem fine, right? At the what is it, 4 to 6 hours, right?
Yeah.
They might seem fine at the 4 hour mark, but still give it to them anyway because once you go past that, it's
It's
hard to
harder to
bring
get
them.
them back. Yes, to bring them back down for sure.
Yeah. But you're interesting enough, I actually have heard people say that the lip repair was harder, and for that very reason, because you could see the area, you're trying to be so careful about everything,
Yeah.
and so you yourself are just on edge and really stressed out about it. But also I heard that they're in or one of the moms shared that they felt their baby was in more pain, but they say they have more nerve endings in the lips. It's almost when you wax or something. It's
Yeah,
of
it's
course
super sedative.
not to compare, but it's
Yeah, but it's
super
a sensitive
sensitive.
area.
Yeah. So that's what they compared it to. It's just so sensitive because of the nerve endings there. And they said that the lip was harder. And I've been hearing that more and more lately. So
Yeah.
I think it depends too. Maybe there's more risk for complication with palate repair. Maybe that's a
Yeah.
thing too. So,
I
because
think
I've
that
heard of a lot of complications with palate repair.
yes, I have two where the surgery they have to have another surgery sometimes or I think too from what I understand from what my surgeon explained to me, the palate is more work for the surgeons to do. The lip repair, my surgeon would always say, "Oh, it'll be real quick. Like I'll just go in. It'll be really easy for me to repair the lip." But with the palate, he did let me know it's a more intense of a surgery. It's a harder area to work with. So I think maybe that too is what I was anticipating palate surgery to be really hard and really bad, which we did stay in the hospital for a day, I think 24 hours. Stayed one night after palate repair, and that's because they wanted to make sure that she was eating enough to be sent home. And so being in the hospital was super uncomfortable. Like that part was hard. Once we got home, I feel like we were able to get into the flow and make her more comfortable at home. But I think that's too with both surgeries and everyone's different experiences. They both come with their challenges. They both have the good, bad, and so I think that's I don't know. Like I said it's so unique to each surgery and each person to what each person's experience is going to be.
Yeah. I think maybe there's a thing to this as well because you know what to expect because you go through that lip surgery first. So you feel it's coming, even though it's a different
Yeah,
kind of surgery in a different
for
area. You
sure.
kind of know how your baby is going to respond a little bit, how to
Yeah.
get them eating, and so maybe it makes it easier sometimes in that way.
Yeah,
Um,
I think you're totally right. I didn't even think about that, but you're probably so right because the first surgery, obviously, I'd never had any experience with any medical type thing. So walking into a recovery room for the first time was super overwhelming. I didn't know what to expect. So you're totally right. The second time I went into it, okay, we've been here before type thing.
yeah. You talked about things being really hard. What do you think has been the hardest part in your journey? You think your diagnosis or that first surgery, seeing that, or grieving the post-op or the pre-op smile? What's been the hardest part for you?
I think if I had to pick the hardest part, it probably would be after the lip repair. I think just I think that was really overwhelming, and seeing your baby physically change is really hard. I had to really tell my mind to stop playing tricks on me. I literally physically had to tell myself, like, "This is still your baby. This is still your baby. She's still the baby that you love. The appearance has changed, but this is your baby, and you're still bonded to her, and she's gonna be okay." I think the shock of just having to get her through the recovery of that was really hard too, but finding out is really hard too. I think those would be the top two things. Finding out's really hard because you go into your pregnancy, you're like, oh, everything's going to be fine. We're not going to have to deal with anything. And then you are, okay, now I have to prepare myself for something totally different than what I had planned for. So I think those two things. Yeah.
Yeah. I know we were talking a little bit when we first started on the podcast just about you sharing your Instagram and all that stuff and sharing Hosanna's journey on Instagram. And you did share with me that you are interested in maybe starting a podcast or so what, not just with the podcast, but do you what do you want to do in terms of in the Cleft community or just in motherhood? Or what are some things that you want to share? What are some things you're interested in the future?
Yeah, for sure. I think we joked about it. I started my Instagram as a Cleft-based account, and now I'm just showing everyone my life. And I think there is something behind that though, because I also want to show people that your life is not going to stop just because your child got a diagnosis. Not even just with Cleft, but other medical things as well. Your life is going to keep going, and you just have to make space for your baby. I feel like I was so scared of what Hosanna's life would look like. And I know our challenges are not done. We're still going to face challenges, but it's all about how you approach them. And like I said, your life doesn't stop. Our life is going to keep going. Our babies are going to be okay. And we just have to make space for them because they so deserve that. I don't know. I feel I just want to show people that we can get through stuff. Seasons might be hard and we go through things. Everybody does, but everything is only for a season. And I think that's maybe why we don't talk about Hosanna's Cleft as much anymore, unless we're looking at old pictures or memory comes up, because we were so in the thick of it, but then you get past it and you're fine. And when until another challenge comes up. But every time you go through a challenge and you make it through something, we can do it again. We did it this time. We can do it again. I don't know. I don't know. I guess overall, I just try to show motherhood and things that you go through can be really hard, and you're allowed to feel those feelings and accept those challenges, but you're going to get through it. You're going to get through it and life is going to be okay.
Yeah.
For people that know Hosanna, she's such a cool kid. I feel her Cleft journey obviously doesn't shape who she is, but she's so fiery. She just is so awesome, and she's just hilarious. I don't know. She's so awesome. She's so strong, and I don't know. I'm just so proud of that little girl.
I
If
love
anything,
that.
like I'm just showing people that your child's life doesn't stop with their Cleft diagnosis. Hosanna lives in such a full life, and she's so happy. She has all her little friends that she plays with, and she's working hard at her speech and just doing so good in every other area of her life. She's excelling, and I don't know. Her Cleft didn't stop her. She just keeps going.
Yeah. I love that. Do you plan on having any more children?
I have no idea. I have
I
no
love that
idea.
question.
I felt
Chavez,
I felt I was a rock star mom with two, and now that I have three, my house is always a mess. It's a lot, but I don't know. I also love having kids. I love being a mom, so we'll see. I don't know. If you ask my husband, he's like, we're done. We're good with three,
oh yeah. Oh wow.
but
Yeah,
we'll see.
no,
I don't know. I don't have an answer.
the reason I asked is because of your Instagram and stuff. I think it's such a raw way to show what motherhood is. I feel you show up authentically. That's one thing that I feel is really important to people. I think it's what attracts people when you can see a real mom, right? And you have these sweet little girls and you're just sharing your journey and stuff and just being vulnerable, and also there's the ups and downs, and I think that's so awesome to
Yeah,
to share
for
that type
sure.
of stuff.
Yeah, there's definitely ups and downs, but I said we're allowed to accept our hard times because we all face them. Life is not easy. You go through stuff, but I don't know. I feel it's all how you face your trials and your circumstances for sure.
Yeah. And you may have mentioned this before. We've talked so much about different lessons and hard moments and things that, but just in closing, what's the biggest lesson that you've learned along your journey?
Yeah, I think for sure not. Yeah, I think I did say your life isn't over. Your life doesn't stop at the Cleft diagnosis. Whatever you go through, you're going to make it through. And I feel I almost don't saying that sometimes, oh, you're going to be okay. Your baby's going to be okay. Cause I feel that probably wouldn't have been helpful to me at past self. I'm stressed out getting told that my baby has a Cleft and you're fine. Your baby's fine. But it's so true. You're going to be okay. You're going to educate yourself and just be there for your baby. It's only for a season and then you're going to get past it. And now, with Hosanna almost being 3, her surgeries and the diagnosis, all of that is a memory. It's a memory. And in those moments, it was really hard and really challenging and trying, but we got through it, and now she's about to celebrate her 3rd birthday. She was telling me what friends she wants at her party. You're gonna get through it. You're gonna make it through. Don't get stuck on where you're at in the moment. As hard as that is, you're gonna make it past that moment and those hard times for sure.
Yeah. I love how you said the telling you about her friends she wants at the birthday. I asked Giselle, who did you play with today? And she names all of her teachers. And I'm, what about the people your age? Did you play with anyone your age?
She's like, they're cool.
Yeah, I guess that's the thing. But yeah, no, thank you so much, Hailee, for being on and taking the time to meet with me today and share your story and being vulnerable and talking through these things. I think that it's so helpful for parents to hear and to listen to. And not only that, there's doctors and stuff that listen as well that, of course, we talked about what it's like to be in the hospital and stuff like that. And hopefully they can also learn from patient experiences. Thank you for just being on.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me. This was so cool. I was nervous at first, but this just felt real just kiki and regular. I don't know. This was so cool. This was awesome.
I told you, I tell everyone, you'll forget that we're even recording. Oh, goodness. Thank you all for listening to the Our Forever Smiles, Cleft Mom Diaries, and Support podcast. Be sure to subscribe and submit a review of the podcast wherever you listen. I hope that you've enjoyed this audio experience. Maybe you cried a little, laughed a little, but more importantly, I hope that you feel a little piece of reassurance and even joy in your journey. Talk to you next week.